In this episode, we are talking to Daniel Bourke, who is on his website. It says he he likes technology, fitness, and art. So let's hear it from Daniel. Daniel, thank you for coming on to the show. Just so that the audience know a little bit about you, can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you, Nathan. Really appreciate the invite to come on the show. Hello, everyone. My name's Daniel Bourke, and I'm a writer, video maker, programmer, or I guess you could say hacker, and educator. I live in Brisbane, Australia. I absolutely love it here. I have 3 younger brothers and 2 dogs. Their names are Bella and Seven. And my favorite food is almond butter.
Ah, interesting. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about, you say a mix of technology, art, and fitness. So everyone will be interested to know what that looks like.
Yeah, sure thing. So technology, art, and fitness, so those things, they're the things that interest me most. And so when I think of the people who I most look up to, that's kind of what they have in common, that they're either writers, they're physical savages, or they're hackers. And so I haven't quite yet decided which one of them I like the most. So I'm just trying out all of them. And I figured this out a couple of years ago, is one of my reasons for just existing really is learning to create and creating to learn. And so I find that I can learn things in technology, then make things with technology. I can learn things about health and then make things in the world of health through experimentation with my body, with my mind, with how I eat, with how I sleep, how I move. And then they all kind of work in together. So that part of creating is the art form in it, is making something to exist because no other reason than just because. And the learn to create and create to learn feeds each other. So if I'm learning something in technology, if I'm learning something in health, I try to figure out how I can create something with both of them and share that with the world, and further in turn learn more about each of the different subjects.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And it also, the one thing will help the other as well. And like, excuse me, if you have a healthy body and mind, it will really affect how the way you learn and vice versa, isn't it? It's really important that you keep that fitness incorporated with your learning as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, for me, it's like number one. I mean, if you don't have your health, what do you have? So exactly. A lot of my time is dedicated towards maximizing the amount of energy I have. So if you imagine you wake up in the morning with 100 points of energy, I think about how I'm going to spend that throughout the day. Can I spend that on learning? Can I spend that on creating? But the way that energy bar kind of goes back to 100 is through taking care of your health. And so that's why it's so important to me. If I'm going to be maintaining, oh, hold on, Siri is opening up my music app, and I don't want that to happen. Let me just turn all this off. See, that's what we need to improve. We need to improve voice recognition so things don't go off at times they shouldn't. But where were we? Yes. So that's, if I want the energy to learn, if I want the energy to create, whatever it is to learn, whatever it is to create, I need to take care of my health. I mean, what happens when you get sick, right? The one thing you want is to not be sick anymore. But when you're healthy, it's kind of like, oh, I want everything. And so I kind of, to get back to first principles, I have to remind myself it's health first, then everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see from your energy level that how much you are into fitness. And I will come back to that later on to ask you, like, how you keep yourself so energetic, and give everyone a quick tour of what your routines are for that.
Of course.
So you've recently just launched a machine learning course. So how did you get into this field? Like, okay, I want to give everyone a new machine learning course. So how did you first start on this journey?
Okay, yeah. So we'll probably go right back to the start, but I'll just do like a quick overview because I've got lots of articles and videos talking about this. So it was about March 2017. I just left my job at Apple, the retail store. I was a genius there, so I spent a lot of time helping people with their technology.
Yeah.
And I said I want to build this technology, not service it. So I wanted to start creating things. And so I looked on the internet. I've had a code and whatever, and my friends and I were working on a web startup, which was related in the health field. We wanted to make the Airbnb of gyms, but after a while, it fizzled out, just failed because our hearts weren't in it. And then whilst researching for that, how to build that, I stumbled upon this new paradigm called machine learning and data science and deep learning and artificial intelligence. And it's hard not to be excited when you're into technology and you stumble across these things. And so I got very excited about these. And then I'm like, I want to learn this stuff. And so because I had no job, I was living off savings at the time. I decided, well, I'm going to spend the next year just studying this full time because I wanted to get a job in technology or at least start my own business. Deep down, I really just wanted to start my own business, but I figured maybe I'll get a job first and see how that goes. Anyway, when I told all my friends that I was studying this new thing called deep learning, they looked at me and they were like, Daniel, what are you talking about? Is that, you mean aliens? Because I told them it was like artificial intelligence and they're like, they thought I was crazy, put it that way. And so I'm like, wow, none of my friends like this. So I'm going to, here's the big thing. I'd already been to university to study health and nutrition. And so I didn't really want to go back to university anytime soon. So I just started finding courses online. I found a few, put them together in an article, and I decided, well, if my friends aren't going to be interested in what I'm learning, I'm really interested. So I'm going to learn in public. And what I mean by that is I created an article called, I'm using my fingers here as inverted commas, my self-created AI master's degree. And I figured I'll publish it online because that way I'll be more inclined to do it. And I really don't know what I'm doing. So if anyone has any improvements, they could probably comment or something like that. And then if I don't end up doing it, everyone will see that, oh, you just published this article and never did anything. And so that kind of turned into a whole journey of just sharing things as I was learning them. And making videos and whatnot about different machine learning courses, different topics and whatnot. And along the way, the beautiful thing was because it was all in public, I was getting a lot of help from people, but also a lot of questions asking how someone else might start to learn data science, machine learning, or artificial intelligence. So that was the number one question that I would get, like on all of my videos, all of my articles, I would post like weekly videos, just an update of, hey, I learned this from Andrew Ng's machine learning course. And so a lot of the comments and even emails directly to me were saying, Daniel, I've watched your video. I want to know, how do I start machine learning? And of course, if one was to look on the internet, you're going to find a lot of resources. And so usually what I did was I would reply to those comments or emails with a list of resources that I'd kind of curated myself. But then I felt that was kind of like palming the problem off to someone else. Like it was, I would send this list, but deep down I would go, you know what? I probably wouldn't do that part of this one and that part of this one. And so although all of the resources you can find online are great, none of them were really from my own perspective. So I don't know. I just felt like I was palming the question off to someone else. And so I decided, you know what, my friend Andre actually reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to create a course on machine learning? And I'm like, well, I've been meaning to do this for a while. And so we ended up doing it. We spent 4 or 5 months working together. And it's kind of just it's the course I would have liked to have had when I started. And this isn't to say that it's better than anything else that's out there, because everything out there is great, let's be honest. This is just the one that I would have liked to have had, the one that I could pour my soul into and create with what I've learned. And so it's to answer the question that I was getting all the time. It was, I want to learn machine learning and data science. Where do I start? Now I could reply back with the course that I made myself, with all of the knowledge that I'd gained in the past 3 or so years learning machine learning and data science and artificial intelligence. I kind of, those are 3 different terms, but I kind of just blend them into one.
Yeah.
So that was like a 3-year journey compressed into 3 or 4 minutes, however long that was.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, you decided to take this journey in 2017, and then 3 years later, you yourself created a machine learning course. That's like that's one great journey from where you were, from where you are now. So that's people who start into this field always are just confusing, like when they check online, or this course, that course, so many resources here and there. So they're just so overwhelmed where to start. What is your advice to those people, like getting confused which course to start? Is it really important to start somewhere rather than getting overwhelmed by the information overload?
Yeah, so I had this. So I would say, if you're just getting started, like say you know zero, absolutely zero. Maybe you read an article and you really liked, you heard about this thing called machine learning, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. Like, you had that feeling that I had when I first heard about it, because I know what that feeling is. It's wow, this is quite, you see it on the news, you see it on the headlines, AI does this. And so of course, when you first start researching, you're going to be well and truly overwhelmed. But I would say at the very beginning, that is a good thing. Why? Because what you want to do at the start is just explore as much as you can. Just take little bits and pieces here and there from everywhere. Just follow your curiosity as much as you can. However, you're going to get to a point where you sort of get a little bit burnt out of always looking for new things. So that's where you're going to have to start to connect the dots. And this is what I did when I first made my self-created AI master's degree. Was I spent a week or 2 weeks just, because I remember I had no job. So all I did was just read online all day about AI and machine learning. And so I was just going through, finding all the different resources. And the way I kind of made my own curriculum was just picking out where the trends were, picking out where the patterns were, and going, okay, maybe I do need to take this one, and maybe I do need to learn that one. And so in the beginning, spend a couple of weeks just using all that energy you have, because inspiration doesn't last very long, finding out where all the trends are. So there's not going to be one perfect resource for you, but just go find where the trends are. Look at some reviews. Chances are, if a lot of people are enjoying it, you probably will too. And then once you do start in one, once you do get a little bit of momentum, then it's time to start tapering off in terms of that high level search space, because all the new resources are going to continually be there, but that's not going to help you to build mastery in a certain skill. And this is what I got trapped in this. When I first started, I would just complete courses as fast as I could. All I wanted to do was get the certificate and share it on LinkedIn. And of course, okay, that might be fake it till you make it, but I was after that certificate rather than skills. And so that is my advice to people now, or anyone who reaches out to ask me, is don't chase certificates as much as you're chasing skills. And so right at the beginning, yes, use all that high level energy, find out all of the things that spark your curiosity, and then put them down in a list. Maybe you've got a list of 25 different things, and now cut out 20 of them. And so you've got 5, and then you go, okay, if I could spend the next month working on only one of these, what would it be? And then you can start to juice down. And the best thing is, after the end of that month, you'll still have that list of 25. That's just a really practical way of how you can go about things.
Some really, really great tips and advice there. Like, don't, instead of getting overwhelmed, just spend that energy search the way you put it, and then to go zero in on some like 20-25 resources, then eliminate 20 of them. Then from those 5, just zero in on one resource that you're going to spend on for the next month. and don't chase certificates, always chase the skill. So that is some wonderful advice and tips for new starters. Thank you for that. So now I'm coming back to my question. I was going to ask you, in every sentence you talk about energy. So I can see the energy in you as well. So you are highly energetic. So what is your routine like? How do you keep this energy level like this every day?
Cool. Well, I can tell you what a day looks like for me at the moment. But as for the actual explanation of why I have energy, I honestly don't know. It's kind of how I am. And I don't want it to come across as if I was as some sort of special being. That's just my personality.
Okay.
But here is a day-to-day for me at the moment. During the week, I've been practicing getting up at 4 a.m. Just now, hear me out, just to practice what it's like to get up really, really early, and doing an experiment. And so far it's going great, because I go to bed really early. So I wake up at 4 a.m. I spend an hour reading. Of course, this is after like getting ready. So about an hour reading, about an hour writing. And by then it's 6 a.m. And by then, that time my dad's up. And so we like to go for walks together in the early morning, take our dogs for walks. And so the sun comes up about 6 a.m. We get home about 7:30. And from there, 7:30 to about 10:30, the first thing I do is kind of do like the creative work, because by that stage, I'm feeling whatever's the most important thing I have to do during the day. I kind of do that between 7:30 and 10:30. And then from about 10:30 to 11:30. And now, of course, this isn't like, I don't want you to think this is a rigid, like I'm tracking this hour by hour. This is just an estimate, but this is roughly how the past month has gone. And then I attend to all the questions that my students of my machine learning course has, and sort of take care of all those things. And so then it's about time to eat. And after I eat, I finish off any of the creative work that I have to do. By about 3 p.m., I'm having maybe a 20-minute nap. I'm just chilling out, just laying down, maybe staring at the ceiling for a little bit. And then by then it's like 4. So today, actually, 4 p.m., I knew I had this podcast at 5. So I went and we're doing some yard work in the backyard. So I helped my little brother cut down some tree branches and did a little workout in the backyard. And now it's 5 p.m. We're having this amazing podcast, and dinner will probably be about 6:30, and I'll be in bed by about 8. So 8 till 4 a.m. is about 8 hours sleep. So now this isn't, give or take, like the hours of the day. That isn't, this has just only been like the past month. I'm just experimenting with what's going on. But the most important thing, I think, is that I'm getting adequate sleep. For me, it's about 7 to 9 hours. I'm eating whole foods that I cook myself. So staying away from anything in a packet or with multiple ingredients. So I cook all of my own meals, and I'm moving at least an hour every day by going for a walk or doing some stretching or something like that. So when we talked about that energy bar, like there's 100 points of energy, that's what I find: sleep, food, movement, the 3 pillars. That's what I find gives me the most, helps me recharge. And so on top of that, I'm very lucky to be able to work on things that excite me. So such as being interviewed by amazing people all around the world, and making videos, writing articles, writing code. And so, that's kind of the actual, the rationale behind why I might have so much energy. But as for other reasons, I don't really know. That's just how I am.
That's really, really great. Like, it's really interesting. Like you said, you woke up at 4 o'clock. By the time, like, some of us wake up, like for example, you just go to bed late, you just watch something on the TV, and then you wake up sometimes at 8 o'clock. So by the time someone wakes up at 8 o'clock, you've already accomplished so much. Like you've gone for a walk, you've read something, you've written something, you've engaged so many other things. You had a good breakfast. So I think it's really important that that sleep, that pattern that you get, like at least 8 hours sleep, wake up early, and then taking it from there has its own really health benefits. And at no point you mentioned anything about like social media and stuff like that. So you really minimizing your social media usage as well on top of this, I believe.
Yeah. Well, that's another point, exactly right. So I'm glad you actually brought that up, because a big thing, I think as well, I've kind of only touched on the things that give you energy. So also, as in like taking care of health. Another big thing as well is avoiding the negative. So avoiding things that drain your energy. And so I've gotten really good, and we're using the term energy. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but it's just a simple thing that everyone understands. I found that if I spent too much time on my phone, I wouldn't feel great after it. So I basically, my phone sits in a drawer in another room on airplane mode all day until like 3 p.m. or whatever. Of course, at the moment, I don't really have to check it at all because nothing's happening, because everyone's in lockdown for coronavirus. And I'm lucky enough to live with my family. So they're the most important people to me. If I need to make a phone call to a friend, of course, I'll just go make a phone call to a friend. But I don't have Facebook, Instagram, any social media apps. I use Twitter and LinkedIn, but mostly just to share my work. I use YouTube, again, mostly just to post. I watch YouTube videos here and there. Same with Medium. I write articles, I read articles. But I've just found that social media platforms, especially Facebook and Instagram, whenever I looked at them, I would feel worse afterwards. And maybe that's a reflection of me looking at other people and just being envious or jealous or whatever. But I just figured the easy way to fix that is just to remove it, because frankly, for what I do, I don't need it.
Yeah, that's really important. Like I left Facebook and Instagram like I think in 2015, I think, and it's just like cutting down never works, for at least not for me. Like if the app is there, you sometimes you just go and have a look. So it's better to like remove it completely and then analyze yourself, isn't it? Like how does your life improve after that? Then if it does, then just choose to do that. I remember you go back to me on LinkedIn saying like it's better to email me rather than, I don't usually check LinkedIn that much. So that's why I got
yeah. Well, you're exactly right. I try to if people do reach out to me, I try to just let them know as soon as possible. The best way to contact me is email, because that way I'm kind of minimizing the amount of communication channels I have to look at. In email, I'm still not the best at email, but I can at least only have one place, rather than I go to LinkedIn and I've got all these red bubbles, and Twitter, and I've got timeline and all that sort of stuff. So I just keep it in one place.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, like a healthy lifestyle, avoid as much social media as you can, and then that will lead on to like you can retain more information when you're learning. You understand more. It helps you like concentrate, and things like all the other aspects of your life will get better as soon as you take care of your health and your mental well-being and your social media usage.
Well, that's it. I mean, learning, if you think about that, learning by definition is hard. You literally have to make new brain cells in your brain. So, and the brain takes up a lot of energy. So if you want to learn effectively, you need to use it. I mean, frankly, I only have like 3 to 4 hours maybe up to 6 hours maximum of like really, really concentrated work per day, but it averages out at like 3 to 4 hours. And so I'm thinking, if I only got that amount of time, and if a really handy trick as well is if you value your time at say $1,000 an hour, just your own personal time, would you pay $1,000 for spending an hour on Instagram? I wouldn't do that ever, but I would pay $1,000 to create something that I'm really interested in creating or really interested in learning. And so that's just a little trick that you can use throughout the day. But yeah, learning is hard. So you need all the help you can get.
Yeah. It's amazing. We always talk about on my podcast and everywhere else. We talk about where to get these resources, where to start into data science, what all resources you can use, and all those things. But we never discuss enough about how to learn or what other things you should be doing in your life, like mentally and physically, where you can learn in your optimal state. So thank you very much for sharing that information. I'm sure everyone will be really, really happy to listen to that advice and tips. So we are almost at the end of our podcast interview. So if you could give one advice to aspirers and people who want to get into this field, what would that be?
Ooh, the one piece of advice. Now you got to remember that when advice is given, it's always got a little bit of background from the person who's giving it. So take it with a grain of salt, because this is from me. So it would probably be patient. Now it can seem, if you look at online, it can seem that yes, you can probably learn things really fast, and you can if you are dedicated. But you must remember, learning anything, and I have to tell myself this, so this is why I'm telling you this, learning anything worthwhile, building skill, takes time. I mean, there's a great article you should read. If you're listening to this, you should read Peter Norvig's article called Learn Programming in 10 Years. So check that article out. You can probably find it if you just Google it. It's a great one. It just basically says it's Peter Norvig is one of the lead software engineers at Google. So he's pretty good at what he does. And it just goes through and just says, hey, you're trying to build this really, really difficult skill, whether it be data science. I mean, it's targeted for programming, but you can think of it for data science. And
in any field,
yeah, you're going to get frustrated, right? You're going to get small wins when you first start, but then you're going to hit the wall of despair, and you're going to be, wow, my progress is slowing down. Everyone faces that wall. So that's the most important one. But the next one is start your own projects sooner, because that's where the real knowledge happens. Now, we've talked about how courses online are, including mine, the knowledge in courses is basically commoditized at this stage. Where the real knowledge happens is in the projects that you build yourself that you don't know how are going to finish when they first start. So that's what I would tell myself if I was going back. You're probably going to be scared, and that's fine. Use that nervousness energy to create something, right? We're talking about energy a lot here. It's all the same thing. So be patient and start your own project sooner. Read the article, Learn Programming in 10 Years by Peter Norvig. And the last article you should also read is Rachel Thomas's You Should Blog, Yes You. Or just Google Fast AI, You Should Blog. Something like that. But I'm sure I can give Nathan the links and he can put them in the description. But yeah, that was kind of 4 pieces of advice in one, but
yeah,
so that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's really, really great advice. Like be patient is a wonderful advice, because you can't have quick results. It's going to take time, and it will take time. So you need to be patient with yourself. I'll definitely put those links to those articles that you mentioned under this podcast video link. So thank you so much, Daniel, for coming on to the show. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. I learned so much today, and I will be trying out the 4 a.m. waking up routine to see. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise and information. And I will post your link to your YouTube channel and your website under this video as well. So thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, the trick for waking up at 4 a.m. is go to bed early.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll try that.
See you later.
Thank you.